What's up my dudes, today I'm going to show you how to change out your power steering pump on a 1JZ. Now if my research is correct, the 1JZ VVTi, 1JZ non-VVTi, 2JZ GTE should all be the same and should not have the reservoir mounted to the pump. And the 2JZ GE should have a reservoir mounted somewhere around here. And this is what we're going to be putting in. A brand new OEM pump straight from Toyota. And this is the part number if you're looking to shop around and get your own. And I'm also going to swap out my dinky little power steering cooler for this 19-row one. To get started, I'm going to remove this coupler so I have a little bit more room to work with. Then to get your serpentine belt off, you grab a 14mm socket with a breaker bar, or if you're like me and don't have enough room, you can stack 2 wrenches together and turn your tensioner right here to the right, and that should loosen up the serpentine belt. Now you could do this one of 2 ways. You could take off the pulley first by sticking a screwdriver through one of these holes, and that should stop the pulley from spinning, and taking off the 17mm nut. And you should have more access to the 2 14mm bolts that are holding the pump on. Or you could take off this hose first, but make sure you have a drain pan ready because you will be spilling and making a mess. And then you should have access through one of these holes to get the 2 14mm bolts off, and that should take the whole pump assembly off with the pulley. I'm going to be removing the pulley first just so you guys can see what those 2 14mm bolts look like. I've actually replaced this pump before, and before I put the pulley back on, I put a little bit of anti-seize to make sure that I'd be able to get the pulley off later, and it helped out now because it was super easy to get off. Hopefully yours isn't too badly stuck on, because then you will have to pry it off, or as a last resort get a puller on there, and there's not a lot of space, especially if you have a swap. And speaking of swaps, if you're doing a JZ swap, you probably know about deleting the AC compressor and the brackets that some companies sell. The problem with those is sometimes it's not measured all the way correctly, and people while drifting will have serpentine belts fly off because they are just ever so slightly off. And that's not a knock to those companies, but if you want a free and foolproof alternative, and I can say that because I've never had a belt fly off on me, you can cut the compressor and use the front half of it to just support the power steering pump. It doesn't look the best, it looks kind of ugly, but honestly when you're looking at it from up top you don't even see it. And that's a way to save like 60 or 70 bucks for those AC compressor delete brackets. But anyways, it's time to get back to the pump, and it's time to drain the fluid. I want to get rid of as much old fluid as I can, so I'm going to be draining it from the rack. Then we remove the hose on the pump. And don't forget about the high pressure line at the bottom, and if you have a GE, you most likely have a banjo bolt instead of a AN line. Now you're ready to remove the 2 bolts that hold the pump in place. The The bolts are actually really long, so make sure you have enough room to pull them out. I ended up breaking off a piece of my E-fan because I didn't want to have to remove the whole fan just so I can pull out 2 bolts. It's nothing structural, so it should still be okay. Double check and make sure that the parts are the same. And these 2 parts I will have to move over to the new pump. There is an O-ring right here, so just make sure that it's not ripped. And then reverse the steps for the install. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize to help the pulley come on and off a lot easier in the future. I noticed when doing this job that my serpentine belt is a little worn, so I will be ordering a new one, but for now I'll just put the old one back on. That's it for the pump install. If you want to know how to bleed the system, go ahead and skip and click somewhere here, but I still have to put in a new cooler, so let's do that now. And this is a cooler that I'm running right now. It's barely hanging on and it's a little small, so I gotta change it out to this guy right here. The only problem is figuring out how to mount it. Well, that didn't take long. I found a random piece of flat bar in the corner of the garage, so I'm gonna see if I can use this to bolt directly to the lower core support. I should be able to drill in it and maybe put a rivet nut on it and use that as a base for these 2 brackets right here. Okay, I didn't record any of the making of the bracket, but it's on now. I just have to put one more bolt through right here to really hold it tight, but it has rivet nuts on the bottom, it has rivet nuts on the cooler, and it's held in by 2 bolts right here. One rivet nut here, and then I gotta put another rivet nut over here. I also made sure that the intercooler fits and that the brackets aren't touching it. I gotta clean up my mess, but before that, I gotta take these guys off and paint them black so they don't rust. These are dash 10 fittings, and I chose these to be straight and then this one 45 because I don't want there to be any kinks when the hoses over here go down straight and then this one wraps around over here. And this is what I mean. This guy goes straight without any kinks, and this guy looks pinched, but it's actually straight. There's no pinch or kinks. The last thing I'm gonna do is install this filter for the power steering fluid. This thing comes with other fittings in case your hoses are different sizes. I believe it's 3/8, ½ inch, and 5/8. I bought it off of Amazon, but if you type this in, you should be able to find it. And I'm gonna put it right here between the reservoir and the pump. Boom, done. Super easy to put in, and it's cheap insurance to make sure the pump has a long life. Everything's put back together, even the intercooler. So now it's time to fill up the system so we can bleed it. I'm gonna be using this from Valvoline. It's Dex 3, and I couldn't find a common answer to whether use Dex 3, 4, or 5, but this is just what I'm gonna use. Once it's kind of full, you want to jack up the car and turn the wheel side to side. Don't turn the car on right away and get the pump running, because you will run it dry for a little bit. So you got to get the car bled up in the air before you turn it on. After a while, your fluid should go down, so just top off and repeat the process. Once you notice that the fluid's not going down anymore, you've gotten most of the air out. Now it's time to turn the car on and repeat the left and right process. Cool, I took the car for a test drive and it works perfectly. I checked every single fitting and every single place where I had tapped in and messed with before, and I have no leaks, so that's good. I did notice though that I am rubbing on the inside of the firewall on the driver's side. I think that's why I was having a hard time making less, because at full lock it would rub and slow the car down a lot, but no biggie, I'll just hammer that out later. But hope this helps. It's honestly not that hard of a job. I'd rate it maybe a 2 out of 5 in difficulty. You just need some basic hand tools, and honestly the hardest part for me was just getting stuff out of the way, like the intercooler coupler and getting room for the bolts. But other than that, yeah, anybody can do this. So good luck, and thank you guys for watching. Skip and click here. But right now I have to, oh shit, I got stuck. What the fuck? Oops.